guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jade. I create content all about growing your online presence and building profitable businesses. Today's video is a good one. I recently created a video where I mentioned the fact that I started this entire business that I currently run with just a few £100s, and a bunch of you were like, I need more information on how you were able to do that. Like, how do you start a business with hardly any money? So I thought, okay, great, this is definitely a subject for my next video. So within this video, I'm going to be breaking down my top 3 strategies which are going to help you start a business in 2022 with hardly any money. Also, make sure that you stick with me throughout this entire video because I'm going to be telling you about one of my favorite tools, which is absolutely imperative for anyone who's trying to start a business in 2022 and beyond. So stick with me. So before I get into the good stuff, it's probably worth me just telling you what my business is about. You might be new here, so you might be like, who is this girl and why am I listening to her? So my name's Jade. I created this business 1 year ago and I scaled it to the point where it now turns over 5 figures every month. And you might be wondering, what is this business? What is she talking about? Well, there's a few different angles to it. So in itself, I am a content creator, I am a YouTuber, and I also create content on Instagram. But in addition to that, I'm also an online marketing coach. So I specialize in helping entrepreneurs and content creators maximize their online presence and build profitable businesses. So everything I do, from my own content creation, my YouTube channel and all of that, all the way through to the different services I offer, is all built around that one mission. Okay, so that is what my whole business is about. I provide that service and I help these entrepreneurs and content creators through a multitude of different ways. So one way is through my YouTube content, like this video here. Another way is through my Instagram content. Another way is through my digital products. I have an ebook. I also have a membership site specifically for content creators called the Creators Club. I also have an online course for business owners called Next Level IG Academy. And I offer a few different services like longer term coaching and also bespoke Instagram audits. I'm not going to bore you with what all of those mean. If you want further information on any of them, I will of course put links in my description. But that's just to demonstrate the different services that I offer and how that's kind of turned into a profitable business in the space of 1 year. Now, I started this business in November 2020 and I started it with a couple £100s. I used my old Samsung Galaxy to film my videos. I'm still using that phone right now. I'm going to get a fancy camera soon, but just to show that the video you're currently watching was taken on an old Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus with a broken screen. So, you know, you don't need fancy equipment. So I invested in a few initial startup costs, things like my website hosting platform. I used Shopify. It's worth noting that I am migrating to Kajabi if you're watching this in the future and thinking she don't use Shopify. When I first started my business, I used Shopify. I also invested in an accountant because I do not mess around when it comes to taxes. I'm not making no mistakes. Therefore, I paid for an accountant. I invested in a royalty-free subscription service, which I'll put a link to in the description. I also invested in the pro version of Canva because I knew I needed to make some graphics for my thumbnails and for my Instagram. And lastly, I invested in a ring light, which I still use to this day. It's a newer ring light and I'll put a link in my description. Everything else, including things that I currently pay for, but what I didn't pay for when I first started out, I used the free version of. I used free project management tools like Asana, which I now pay for, but when I got started, I just used the free version. I used free social media scheduling tools like Later, and now use a paid one called Agora Pulse. But back when I was just started, I just used the free version of Later. I used a free video editing tool called DaVinci Resolve. Now I have a video editor, but when I started, I just used the free version. And you can probably see a bit of a pattern here. There are so many tools that you can get free versions to, and I recommend you do get free versions to, so that you're able to use different tools to start your business without actually paying a huge investment cost. And whilst you might be thinking, okay, that sounds all well and good, but I don't want to be a content creator, I don't want to be an online coach, so how does this work for me? Don't worry, because I'm about to break down the 3 key strategies that you can use to actually find and create a business without requiring a lot of startup costs. I just wanted to take a second to show you what I did and really demonstrate what is actually possible. So let's talk about the first strategy. So the first strategy that you can use in order to start a business which doesn't require a lot of initial investment is to pick a low cost business model. So as I mentioned, I'm in like the online education space, and that space is incredibly budget friendly. This space does not require hardly any startup costs, especially if you're not doing things like starting a YouTube channel where you even need good lighting. You can literally start selling your services and your expertise online for hardly any money at all. And you don't even have to build your own website to get started with doing stuff like this. You can use other platforms like Fiverr, for example, where you can find clients using their website, and that's actually how you go about making your money and finding clients that way. Or for example, if you're deciding to sell a digital product, which is another example of a business model which doesn't require hardly any money, you can use a platform like Etsy, which actually doesn't require hardly any investment costs, and instead you pay them a proportion of your sales, versus paying for a platform like Shopify and, you know, paying for a website designer and stuff like that. So there are ways around that as well. But there are also other businesses which aren't necessarily online education, which also don't require a lot of startup costs. Things like dog walking. Becoming a dog walker for your neighborhood and for your neighbors hardly requires any startup costs. You can go out there, spread the word, and knock on people's doors and form a relationship that way. Especially if you're someone who knows your neighbors already, go out there and just ask them, hey, do you need a dog walker because I've got some spare time on my hands? Things like that require hardly any startup costs. Think about also what skills you have and potentially how you can monetize that on a digital format. For example, are you a graphic designer? If you're a graphic designer, you can start selling your services online on a freelance basis without having to spend hardly any startup costs. Or are you someone who's super gifted at copywriting? If so, that's another service that you can sell to business owners online. If you're sitting there thinking, I don't have any skill that I can monetize and sell online, first of all, I disagree with you. I bet you do have a skill that you can monetize and sell online. But if you do really believe that you don't have a skill, seek one out. There's so much information available online nowadays that you can actually learn how to do a skill from scratch for free if you really wanted to, just using platforms like YouTube. But if you're willing to invest a small startup cost, there are other platforms that you can use where you can learn different skills online. I don't need to tell you what all of them are. If you search that on Google, you'll find a bunch of them. But there are so many resources available online nowadays where you can learn to really brush up or learn a new skill if you're looking for something to monetize. So that is my first strategy. It's all about picking a business model which requires hardly any startup costs. So my next strategy for creating a business with hardly any money is to be really savvy with the tools that you're using to get started. So for some businesses, if you're already set on a certain business idea, like for example, you want to create an online boutique and that is just what you want to do and you don't want to hear about any other different business models which require a smaller investment, you're set on that. I totally get that. I've had my own online boutiques. I get where you're coming from. What you now need to do, if you've already agreed on a business model which might require a bit of money, you need to think about the tools you're using. You need to get savvy about those. So I mentioned at the start of this video that I wanted to tell you about this incredible tool, which is really going to help you set up your business in the most cost efficient way possible. And the thing that I want to tell you about is a company called Taylor Brands. Taylor Brands is an all-in-one solution to jumpstart your business. Now, when I say all-in-one, I really and truly mean all-in-one. They have the ability to do so much for you in the early stages or even the later stages of your business. It's wild, and all for a really cost efficient price. So I'm going to tell you about some of the things that they can help you do just to really bring to life how useful this tool will be in the early stages of your business formation. So one of my favorite tools that Taylor Brand offers is a logo maker. Now, their logo maker is backed by artificial intelligence, which means you could go through the process of answering a few questions and Taylor Brands will generate a logo for you. So I'm going to show you what this looks like in case you've never seen it before. So let's say that I'm going to put an example called test. I'm not going to put a tagline, right? Say my brand's called Test. I'm going to press design. It's going to generate for a second and it's going to ask me what I'm selling. So say I'm selling physical goods and I'm going to say clothing and accessories. Okay. You can fill in this section to tell them more about what it is we do, because that's going to help them come up with a logo what's going to be even more suitable to you. But I'm just going to go and skip ahead for the sake of this example. I'm going to pick name-based for my logo, and then it's going to ask you to pick a few different styles of logo for you to pick. I'm going to pick trendy, delicate, and elegant, right? Let's press next. And it's going to spend like literally, I was going to say a few minutes. It's not even a few minutes. It's like 1 minute coming up with a few different logo designs for you. So if you stick with it, so as you can see, it's come up with a few different logo designs for you, and it shows you what the logo will look like in situ. So what it would look like on a website, business cards, on a t-shirt. And if you scroll down here, it's going to give you a bunch of more examples. And if you press see more and carry on going, I love this one. I just love this font. Press see more, carry on going, and it'll give you more and more different logo designs for you to choose from. So essentially, if you carry on scrolling, you'll eventually get to the stage where you find a logo which is perfect for you. So as you can see, it's a super easy way for you to come up with a logo for your business. But that isn't the only tool or service that they offer. They also have this really amazing service where they basically form your business as an LLC for you. So an LLC is a limited liability company, and it essentially just makes your business a legal entity. And it's a really vital step for anyone who's really serious about making their business official and legit. It's also super scary, and it literally petrifies me, that whole process. But Taylor Brand's service gets rid of all of the scary elements of forming your LLC and basically just does it for you. So you can actually go on their website and check out the different steps that it will take you through, but it's a super easy way of forming your LLC. It can also do things like trademark your logo for you, which is wild. That's another super scary thing about starting a business, which can be really complicated unless you use a service like Taylor Brands. And it also could do a bunch of other stuff, like it can design your website, it can find and sort out your domain name, it can create merchandise for you. Like, it really is a one-stop shop for everything you need to form your business. But more importantly than that, it's also super cost efficient. And if you want to know more about how much these different services are going to cost you, I recommend checking out the link in the description and clicking on the different elements of the website so that you can really get an effective quote for the different things that you need, because obviously it's different depending on what you actually need from them. But it's super, super cost efficient and a great tool for you to use if you want to start your business with hardly any money in 2022. So my third and final strategy for starting a business in 2022 with hardly any money, and this is a really important one, is to sell the concept first. Now, this might sound really confusing, so I'm going to give you a few examples. And these are real examples that I've used. So, as I mentioned, I used to have 2 boutiques. And one of the main ways that I was able to keep my startup costs down for these boutiques was actually by selling products before I had them in stock. Right? So what I would do is I would get samples of the products that I wanted to sell, check that they were okay, check that I had a good relationship with the supplier, and make sure that I was okay with everything like that. Make sure I knew how long it took for the items to get delivered and everything like that. So I would do that and make sure that I've checked all of my products. And then I would take my photos, get my imagery, and sell them online. And I would sell them through a process called pre-ordering. So what that would essentially involve is people would be able to purchase my bag, for example, on pre-order, knowing that it's going to take a couple of weeks for it to arrive. And when they make that purchase, I will then use that money to buy that bag, and I'd get it sent to me and then ship it off to them. That's one example of how you can use this strategy for physical items. And if you want more information on that, I actually break down my whole pre-ordering process in this video up here. The other example of this is actually one that I use to sell my online course. So as I mentioned, I have an online course which coaches business owners, whether product or service based, and it teaches them how to leverage Instagram to make more money, right? To generate more sales, to convert more clients. And when I launched that course, I already had majority of the back work done. I'd mapped out the course, I'd done my slides, I'd done my giveaways, but I hadn't actually recorded all of it yet. And the reason why was because I wanted to make sure that my product and how I was positioning it was correct and that it would actually sell. Some people take this one step further and they won't even do any of the work on their course or on their product before they sell it. They will literally be like, I'm just going to sell it. I'm going to say that it's going to be available from this date. And then once I've sold some, I'll start working on it. Now, if you want to do it that way, that's perfectly great for you. And it's a really great way to reducing risk. I could not do it that way because that sounds so stressful. Online courses in particular, they take a lot of work. I needed to know that I had most of that work done beforehand before I actually sold my products, because it takes so much work and that doing it live would really stress me out. So I made sure that I had majority of the bulk of the work done, but I hadn't necessarily sat down and filmed my content and edited my videos and uploaded it onto the platform yet. Instead, I launched the product, I told everyone when the first module would be available, and I drip fed it. So every week I would release a new module, I'd get some feedback on that module, and then I would record the next week's module and I would upload it ready for Monday. And I did that over the span of about 5 to 6 weeks before my entire course was finished and it's out there. So it's all done now and it's out there and it's just ready to be updated as and when. But those are 2 examples, one an online business model and one a physical business model, of how you can actually sell something before you've even made it or you have it. And that's perfectly okay as long as you're doing it in the most ethical way possible and you're making sure that whatever it is you're selling, you're actually going to deliver on. And if it's a physical product, you've actually checked it and quality checked it to make sure that it's a good product that you're actually offering to people. So those are my 3 strategies for creating a business in 2022 with little to no money. I really hope you found that useful. If you're interested in checking out Taylor Brands, which I 100% recommend you do if you're serious about starting your business, then please check out the link in my description. You can find so much more information on their website. I really hope you found this video useful. If you did, I recommend checking out this video. It's all about how I created my ebook, which now generates around £1,000 per month for my business. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.